Okay, welcome back to, I think, what is this, week 2 or 3? 2? 3? Week 3, but we're on lecture 2? I don't know how this works. Anyway, this is week 3 of the engineering management class, and I hope you like the quality of the video this week. It's much better, or the quality of the screen, I should say. I downloaded some drivers on my new computer. I got it working a little bit better. I'm trying to improve the process for you. This slide actually looks fuzzy on my screen too, so don't worry about that. This slide here should look pretty clear, and it does, which is very good. Try to make the font a little bit big as well so you can see it. So today's lecture is on the information technology track. So if you go to bhacker.com, if you're looking at it, because I see a couple of people have computers and tablets and stuff, and you might be able to look at it a little bit easier on your own device. If you go into engineering management and you go into the technology management series, this one is MIT lecture number 2. So it says on the top here, MIT lecture 2 PPT, and that is, and I'm hovering my mouse over this one here, and I see it on the bottom of my screen. So this is this one here. So I believe I covered the first one of this series already. If not, don't worry about it. We have like about 100 of these lectures. I'm not going to cover all of them. I pick and choose which ones I feel like doing, and then give you the topics for the agenda for today. Today's about information technology and competitive advantages and Porter's 5 forces model and some really good stuff associated with competition and competing with engineering management and engineering companies and software and stuff like that. So if you missed any of the previous lectures, there's the introduction video that was recorded, and then there's lecture 1, and then there's lecture 2, which are recorded videos. And so if you haven't figured it out already, I'm recording this. And I stick it up on my YouTube site. You can see actually the videos from last time. I had them up here. I'm pretty sure they're still up here. It says, yeah, summer 2013 videos. Slightly different information. But sometimes you might be interested in looking at some of that stuff. You're more than welcome to go through previous videos of the class if you like, if you're looking for more information on something. So last week I also went over assignment number 1, and I've had a couple people send me some email messages, which is an excellent idea. If you have an idea about what you want to write about, but you're not quite sure if it fits into the right topic area, if you missed last week or don't know what I'm talking about, look at the video from last week. I went over assignment number 1 at the end of the course last week in the in-class meeting, and it requires you to do a little bit of research on your own to find a topic that you're going to write about. Something having to do with engineering management. And then the first question that comes to everybody's mind is, does this have to do with engineering management? I think, I can't remember who it is, but somebody's writing on mobile development, mobile app development. And that's kind of, that falls in the right category. And another person is writing on, I think something related to project management, a tool set for software for project management. And I said, yeah, that's good too. That falls in the category. Practically any topic you could possibly come up with is going to fall into the category, which was the point of that exercise, was to kind of figure out, you can't really put a definition on what engineering management actually is. And depending upon your focus and your background, you might have a different area of concentration, a different area of focus. And if that's the case, then pick that. Don't make it hard. Pick something that you enjoy or you think you might enjoy writing about. So this lecture is on competing with information technology, and I'm going to go kind of skip through the first part of it, but I'm going to show you a book here, and the lecture is based on this book, and the book title is called Management Information Systems, but he talks about competing with information technology, and the authors, James O'Brien and George Maracas, to give them credit for this information. And the ISBN is here. It's not required. I believe there's a full electronic lecture and also a full electronic version of this book at this URL. So if you download this lecture slide set, click on the URL, you'll find it. So if you're interested in additional reading above and beyond what I'm going to give you today, then that's the source that you want to go to. A lot of these lectures, at the end of the PowerPoints, it tells you what the source is. Sometimes it's at the beginning, sometimes it's at the end. This one happens to be at the beginning. And sometimes I skip through the end of those lectures, and because it's getting close to lunchtime, and I'm thinking, I just want to wrap things up. and I forget to tell you about what the source was or where it came from, just look at the end. You'll probably find some information in there. You may also find it, and sometimes it's not written. I'm bringing this up in preview on my Mac. If you brought this up in PowerPoint, you'll see it on the footer. You'll see the author and the name of the book, and sometimes the ISBN is down there as well. But there's no requirement for you to go out and get the book that it's based on. I've used about maybe 9 different books for these lectures. So, long story short, unless you want to spend, what is it, like $900 maybe, because books are expensive these days. You know, if you get the printed copy, it's like $100 a copy. You can probably buy $1,000 worth of books if you wanted to, seriously. Or fill up your hard drive with some PDFs, you know, maybe. I don't know. You don't have to. The best research, I think, or the best way of learning is to do research, actually, is what I meant to say. So. All right, so we're going to identify several basic competitive strategies, explain how they can be used with information technology to confront competitive forces faced in business, identify several different strategies using internet technology, and give some examples of how to give competitive advantages to a business. We'll also look at the processes of re-engineering, frequently involving the strategic use of information and internet technologies, and identify the business value of the internet. Talk about a little bit about the internet today. When I talk about the internet, usually talk about e-business concepts and e-commerce and things like Salesforce.com as an example, or supply chain management systems that run over the internet. So it's not like the internet like what you guys are familiar with, you know, Facebook, and, whatever, email, whatever you guys use the internet for. Businesses use the internet too, and they use it for more productive business activities that they're performing. And it's really a nice addition to business tools these days. Why study IT? Why are we looking at this in engineering management? Because if we don't, we're not on the bandwagon, first of all. We're not competitive. I don't know of any company that's in existence right now that's not competitive. It's kind of like the nature of business, isn't it? I mean, if you don't compete, you're not going to be around long enough unless you got a rich family, or maybe some rich founders who don't pay attention, or investment capitalists who don't pay attention to where their money is going. Then you can afford to be in business and not be competitive. You know, you can just spend money and have fun and take vacations, and then when the money runs out, you go out of business. So, actually, believe it or not, some people operate like that. And then in retrospect, they look back and they go, "Oh, how come we didn't succeed?" That's really probably about 50% of all cases. Or you got a bad idea to begin with. You know, you're going to sell a car, and the car is going to cost more than all the other cars on the market, and it's not going to have the same quality. Are you going to stay in business too long? Probably not. You're not competitive. Or you're selling an electronic component, and an electronic component doesn't have the same look and feel or the same qualities as the other electronic components in the same category that are on the market. Not going to succeed very well. So we'll talk about competitive advantages and how to achieve that, how to stay in business. As an engineering manager, now I'm looking at the group of people who work with marketing, who work with research, product development, engineering management, who works in product development, who doesn't know anything about competitive advantages. Should you really be working in product development? You're developing a product that's not going to be competitive. You're not worried about, you're not concerned with how competitive your product is going to be. You just want to build it, which is actually kind of funny because you get this with programmers. I get this with, okay, so over the weekend I was teaching an app development course in iOS development, and I was talking to one of the students in the class, and he said, "Oh, I got this idea for this app." You know, I'm thinking, okay. And he went through the whole spiel of the idea. I said, "Well, that's really cool and all, but you know, there's already out there. You know, there's like 5 of them already in the market, and they're doing a lot more than what you just said. You know, so, but he wants to build it. So I'm like, okay, build it. No, go for it. Build it." I think it's a complete waste of time. Actually, it's not a complete waste of time from an educator perspective. He's going to learn a lot from that experience. It's a lesson I wouldn't want to learn that way, though. I mean, unless you can turn it into something that you're going to do something with it, why do it? It's almost like if someone says, "I'm going to reinvent paper," you know. Well, people reinvent paper all the time, actually. Paper is one of those funny concepts. Once it was invented, people started using paper. And then we have brown paper, yellow paper, blue paper, white paper. We got thin paper, thick paper, cardstock. We got all these papers out there. We still have new papers coming out. I was just, the other day I was in a store, you know, it's around Halloween time, right? I mean, it's getting close to Halloween, and they have put the Halloween decorations out. They have this new paper that's see-through. So they're making it orange and white, fuzzy, and it's see-through paper. And they're using it in Halloween decorations at the store that I was at. Long story short, I was like, wow, they invented a new source of paper, or a new kind of paper. I didn't think we could run out of paper. I thought we ran out of different variations. You think about it, it's kind of like tablets. You know, how many more tablets are we going to see on the market? And if we just look at how many Android devices are on the market right now, you can buy a tablet for $49 at Fry's right now. Actually, I almost bought it the other day. Because after this class, I have the Android class. And I figured, it might be fun to have like a smaller, because I carry around a bigger tablet with me for that class. I'm thinking, I might have a small little $49 tablet made by some unknown brand out there. I'm thinking, who in the world is going to come out right now and build another tablet? But they still do. Every year we have brand new tablets coming out. Still. It's like, okay, I guess that's progress. And a lot of that is actually good because we have different levels, and this is all relevant to what I'm talking about today when I talk about competitive forces. We have different levels of the food chain. We have the bottom feeders. We have the first to markets. We have the second generations. You can define it in many different terms and in many different analogies, but it's a food chain. I mean, it's a cycle. And we have an entire cycle of product development, entire cycle of sales, market analysis that goes on with that. Just because you made another tablet, the guy who's selling that $49 tablet, I guarantee it is making more money on that tablet than Microsoft is making on their tablets. Because that guy who's making the $49 tablet doesn't have a warehouse full of $200 million loss that they declared last year on these things or whatever. He doesn't have a warehouse full of these he's trying to get rid of. He's just making them, and his cost on it is probably like $10 or less, maybe. Probably making more money on that tablet. Long story short, it doesn't have to be a quality product. It just has to be something people want to buy. People buy, going back to pet rock, people buy a rock in a bag or a box. Not so high quality. You guys know about the pet rock? You guys know about the chia pet? You guys know about a pet? You have never heard of a pet rock? This is like from the 80s. Raise a hand. How many people heard of pet rock? You heard of pet rock?
I do.
You've never heard of the pet rock? Oh no. The pet rock? Some guy went to his backyard, dug up a bunch of rocks, painted them, put them in boxes, and sold them for like $10. It was a pet. You got to see this thing. It's like no cost at all. Pet rock. Here we go. The pet rock. Here it is. You got to see this pet rock. Here it is. Pet rock. It came, with it ventilated because the rock's got to breathe. It's an animal. It's a pet. They put a little, actually here's another form of paper. They put a little paper shredded kind of thing in there. They put a rock in there. Some of the rocks were painted. Some of them weren't painted. Some of them had dirt on them from the garbage that they were pulled out of, or the ground that they were pulled. Just a rock, like you find on the sidewalk. They were selling them. Actually, it was quite a fad for a while. Remember the Cabbage Patch Kid and Cabbage Patch dolls? Well, the girls are probably going to remember the Cabbage Patch dolls. The boy, I don't know if you're going to remember those Cabbage Patch dolls. Maybe your sister or something had one, but that was another thing. Why spend $100 for a doll that was made out of yarn and stuff? I mean, they were really cheap materials, but they all had like birth certificates to them, and they all had different names and backgrounds and stuff to them. Another fad kind of concept as well. Well, that's how I kind of see that $64 tablet for the most part. It's like, people spend it. It's a tablet. I'll spend $64. In fact, I'm probably going to go later today and go buy one, actually, because now that I think about it, it's probably not a bad deal. So, but, the Chia Pet, it makes sprouts. It's a terracotta. It's a pet. It's not a pet. It's a terracotta thing shaped like a thing, like a pet of some sort. You put water on it. There's seeds inside of it. It grows sprouts, and then you can, and you can eat the sprouts. It's called a Chia Pet. You know, it's like $50 for the sucker to begin with. Actually, some of those pet rocks were like $100. These are low-tech items, by the way, and they're selling, and someone's making money off of this. So it's not the technology. So the point, and here comes my point for mentioning all of these kind of fad little things. It doesn't matter what you're producing. It has absolutely, you can go to the garden, pick up a bunch of rocks, stick them in a box. So we can even paint them if you want to. Doesn't matter what you're selling. It has absolutely no idea. The product does not matter. It's like there was an old business guy who said, you know, he could sell crap in a paper bag, and he actually did. It's called fertilizer. Crap in a paper bag. Doesn't matter what you're selling. It's how you're selling it, how you're producing it, what competitive, how many other people are selling crap in a paper bag? You know, how many people are doing it? And nobody said, how many people are sold a pet rock? Nobody sold pet rock. People are doing pet rock? Cabbage Patch? How many people were selling? No. And what ended up happening, and the Beanie Babies, the beanie babies, beanie bag things, those little baby doll things full of beans. That was another one of those fads. And people just go after it year after year. I don't know what this year's thing is. You usually get it around the seasonal time. In America, you get around the holidays. They start introducing these things like Elmo, Tickle Me Elmo or Elmo thing. It's like nobody heard of this thing until November when all the sales start for this thing, because it doesn't really matter what you're selling. As the product doesn't matter. Now, a lot of people disagree with me on that. It matters to a certain point. Doesn't matter to a certain point. Once it gets marketed, then it matters. Once people want the product, then they want a better product, and then they want a better product, and that's a totally different market strategy. That's a totally different strategy. So why are we studying IT? Well, because technology is no longer an afterthought. It's forming the business strategy. It's the actual cause, the driver. It can change the way we compete. And then the strategic view of information systems, information technology, engineering management, and business in general is it's vital. So information systems are vital to the competitive networks. They're also means of organizational renewal. So you're an old company, you're selling the pet rocks, sales are down because people are like figuring out this is just a rock. The hype is over with, you got to reinvent yourself. Then you go on the internet. I don't know if it was the same group of people, but I think it may have been a different group of people. And then you sell stars. You sell, and then who owns a star? I don't know. There's a lot of people out there. The last time I taught this class, like 5 people raised their hand. I own a star. They're usually gifts. You know, you could buy a star from somebody. It's vapor. How do you know where your star is? You ever going to visit your star? No, but you own a star. Anyway, long story short, it's the same thing, but that one came out in the age of the internet. How are you going to sell stars? You're going to advertise it on to the world. You know, all over the world, and you're going to get a lot of people to buy the stars. So that way, if they buy stars, then how do you know if more than one person owns the same star? It's kind of like a timeshare, I guess. I don't know. You got multiple stars, same owner. Anyway, long story short, it's the modern day internet scam. The modern day, it's not an internet scam. It's actually not a scam. The company's actually pretty legitimate, but there's a lot of other companies that aren't legitimate that sell you all sorts of things on the internet, actually. So information systems is a means of organizational renewal, bringing something new, getting a more competitive advantage. Also, it's a necessary investment in technologies. Will help you adapt to new strategies, enable you to re-engineer and reinvent yourself in order to survive and succeed in today's dynamic business environment. So I'm not going to go through the case studies because they're kind of outdated and the numbers are sort of off. Instead, I want to come to the meat of the concepts for today. So I'm going to skip through the case studies and get to here. In terms of information systems, and give you another one for strategic information systems. So this is a definition. So it's any kind of information system that utilizes information technology to help an organization gain competitive advantage, reduce competitive disadvantages, and meet other strategic enterprise objectives. So what does that mean? It's a different category. It's a strategic information system or strategic IT that's used to make the company more successful and more competitive, instead of one that's going to keep track of, let's say, the books or keep track of, I don't know, spending or something. So it's like you have certain programs and certain systems within the organization that are used for the organizational management, you know, to keep track of employees, like payroll, or keep track of hours and stuff like that. And then you have systems that are not really necessary for the, you know, stability of the company, but they're necessary for strategic alliance and strategic advantages. So then companies have discovered that they can invest in these things above and beyond what they wouldn't actually need, and then they get something in return for it. It's kind of like students. It's actually kind of like you guys. You don't actually have to be enrolled in a degree program, and you don't actually have to be taking a class. There's no law that says you have to get a master's degree. Actually, there was no law that said you had to get a bachelor's degree either. However, everyone in here, and I can guarantee it, 100% of you, everyone in here, well, unless you don't think like a normal human being, are going to hopefully get something out of this degree. You're going to get something in return for spending your money on these tuition dollars, hopefully. Some of you might learn something. Some of you might not want to learn anything. That's fine too. You just want the piece of paper. Some of you are here for business reasons, for work reasons, for family reasons. Your spouse is here. You want to be here. There's different objectives, and it's cool. It doesn't really matter what the objective is. In fact, it doesn't really even matter whether you go to this school or another school down the road or another school in another country or something like that. It doesn't, none of that really matters. What only that matters to you is what you're going to get out of it in the end. So, long story short, if a business thinks like this, then they should be able to spend money on tablets for their employees, or spend money to train their employees, or spend money to buy a new supply chain management system to work electronically, or a new payroll system, or I don't know, outsource something that they're not good at and pay more to outsource it. Because that little investment that you're making makes a huge, big difference further down the road. And the business people like to call that return on investment. You know, as long as you can justify an ROI on it, then you're going to have some reason to buy it. You're going to get your money back further down the road. You know, there's no guarantee that that's going to happen, but the goal is on that expectation that it might happen. So considering the fact that if you have a master's degree, statistically you're going to make more money, actually, regardless of what you're doing. You're still going to make more money. So you have to add up and then figure out, I can add all that stuff up and see, is that going to be the same amount of money that I spent for my degree? And then sometimes it is, and sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. So there's no guarantee for it. But the idea is that you're taking the initiative to do a strategic information upgrade or a strategic step that you're taking, which is what businesses are part of the business philosophy. It's not what you need to survive, it's what you need to excel. So if you have the mindset of opening up to that, then you're going to have a mission that's going to be based on competitive strategies. And your mission is your mission as a student is to gain more work experience or better work experience, better paying job, a brighter, better future. Not to say there's anything wrong with the present, but you're working in a better direction, your improvement. It's all about improvement. So we have corporate missions or objectives to consider, and we have competitive strategies that should be fitting into the corporate objective. So major policies to support the company to compete with other companies or to survive in the long run. A lot of American companies, it's actually kind of interesting. They've taken a green initiative. If you've been around in the U.S. for the last couple of years, you notice it probably has died down a little bit because, you know, it was like the bandwagon, right? So I'm green, right? We're a green company. We don't use paper anymore. We can recycle and we do all this other stuff. Yada, yada, yada. And who cares right now? I mean, I shouldn't say that. A lot of people would disagree with me and say it really does care. But a lot of companies felt if we get on the green bandwagon, we'll get more respect from our consumers. and people will buy our product because we're green and we're supporting the. Then they figured, oh well, there's no return on this, so they did it. But then they figured out, but we're not getting anything for being green. Everybody's green now, which is good. So the reward for that is that you're better for the earth, better for the environment. Are you going to get anything from it from a business perspective? No. So companies turned around and said, okay, forget the green stuff. We're not promoting ourselves and spending money on dollars and saying that we're green now. So we don't see that much green stuff anymore that you saw a couple years ago. Well, actually, if you look at the 1980s, 1990s in the U.S., everything was made in America. It had stamps that said made in America all over the place. They don't do that anymore either, because it's actually better for the global economy to not make it in America. Going back to what I was saying last week, it's the exact opposite. So anyway, long story short, you also have to know when to stop promoting something, because it's not doing you any good. It's not going to help you in the long run. It's just a waste of money. So if your company already has notebook computers for all employees, why are you going to buy them tablets? It's not going to help you. Or if you already have landline servers, why are you going to put wireless in? You already have wireless in, you already have landline, you already have, why put a cellular network in there? Why do it? So there has to be some sort of justification for doing it for the most part. So what I'm talking about is this stuff right here on the slide. It's competitive forces and strategies. And we've got, in order for me to fit it, I have to scroll up a little bit on the slide. This is Porter's model, 5 forces model. It's actually an expansion on that. I'm going to go through Porter's model in a few minutes. Maybe you've heard of this in management science courses. If you haven't, you'll hear of it eventually. What we've got are some categories for competitive strategies with some competitive forces. So it's like we have to think past our company. We have to think past what our initiative is and think about what's going on in the world, what's going on with our environment, with our competition. As an example, we're trying to sell these pet rocks. Let's go back to pet rocks because they're no longer on the market anymore. Actually, it might be. If there's a museum, I think the Discovery Museum in San Jose here has a pet rock, actually. It has one of all of this stuff that I was talking about, if you ever want to see one live. Anyway, long story short, another guy comes out with another pet rock. Maybe he's got a pet cinder block. Or a pet pebble, a little smaller. Baby rock pebble. And they call it a beanie pebble. Anyway, long story short, maybe they're cheaper. And then they're going to be the cost leader. So here's our cost leader strategy. So cost leader goes this way, which is against this flow. So imagine this as a water flow and going this way, and then this one's pushing you this way, or pushing you off the grid in the other direction. So we got the rivalry among competitors, threats of new entrants, threats of substitute products, bargaining power of customers, of consumers, bargaining power of suppliers, all working against all of our initiatives. I was meant to go up. I meant to push my mouse up. I moved it up. Working against us, and then we're over here trying to counteract that. So this line of arrows is going this way, and we're going this way. It's crossing us. It's not working in our favor. It's not working for us. It's working against us. So as soon as we get the cost leadership, then we have this rivalry that goes on. One competitor, in fact, this happens on the internet all the time with dynamic pricing. And you get to a certain point where you can't make a profit. If I want to drive my competitor out of business and I have some extra money hanging around that I want to spend on driving my competitor out of business, I'm going to lower my prices to the point where my competitor can't sell their product anymore. Get them out of the market, get rid of them, and then I'll raise my prices back up to normal. I'm paying to drive them out of business. Happens all the time, actually. People don't realize it. They go in there, how in the world can I sell it that cheap? You're selling this notebook computer for this amount? How does that work? It's because one competitor has dropped it below their cost. They're losing money on it because if they sell enough of them, the customers are not going to be buying it from the other person. And then the other person can't afford to sell their product anymore, so they're going to go out of business. And then they go along to the other company and they say, hey, you want to get rid of your product? Then, okay, I'll just buy them at a discount from you. So, cut your losses right now. So you won't lose as much. I'll just take your money. It's a win-win all the way around because they're not going to lose as much, and then you're not going to have to spend as much making them lose. So, it's a kind of a win-win, and then they go out of business and you're still in business. That's cost leadership. Not always done that way. And I'm pointing out the negatives that are associated with it. Sometimes it's just, reducing your cost so that you can sell it at a better price, where you're getting something because you're making it yourself. You're not spending as much on it, and if you're not spending as much on it, you can sell it for less than your competitors do, which is actually kind of interesting because if you take the e-commerce model, and I'm jumping around, I'm only putting this up for visual aid. I'm jumping around a little bit, talking through most of the slide set actually. If you think about the e-commerce model, and you go to Barnes & Noble as an example. This is why Barnes & Noble is closing down, actually, by the way. You go to Barnes & Noble and you buy a book, and the book costs $100. You go online, you buy the book costs $99 or $95. Maybe 10% less. Maybe you can get it for $90 online. $10 difference doesn't really support the employees and the building and the rent and the heat and the power, everything that is associated with having a brick and mortar building. Doesn't. But you're paying almost the same thing. Better yet, consumers are happy if they can find it at the same price for the convenience factor. They'll pay $100 for it online, even though they can get it for $100 in the bookstore. They think, oh, I don't have to go to the bookstore. It can just get delivered to me. And I got free shipping going on, which is the Amazon thing. Give me free shipping, sell it to me at the same price, then I don't have to go get it, and also it's available. Where it's not available, I go in, if you've ever gone into a Barnes & Noble store and looked for something, there's nothing in there. It's like old stock in there because they're not going to stock the shelves with new stuff. It's easier to sell it online, so now they're closing all their stores down. I'm surprised it took them this long to close down those stores. And you think about it, you compare that with Amazon. Amazon never had stores in the state of California. They actually have some stores elsewhere. But the pricing model in the store is different, and the atmosphere is different. It's not really a bookstore. It's kind of different. And then eBay, actually. eBay in the outside of California, eBay has store locations. You can go to an eBay store, bring all your junk, drop it off, and then it's like a thrift store. Other people come in and they buy it, and then the eBay handles the transaction for you. It's for people who aren't on the internet, essentially. Kind of like a thrift store or a secondhand used bookstore kind of concept. And which is Amazon's thing. Amazon's done the same thing with used bookstores. Because that's what you buy on Amazon for the most part, unless you buy it new. You have new and used. Personal people selling stuff back and forth. But it's a different business model. Has to do with costs. It's all cost leadership. Then go down to another model here. We have a differentiation. That's the Apple model. How is Apple different from any other MP3 player? If you go back about 20 years or so, or I don't know when the first iPod came out, 1990 something, maybe, I don't know, maybe it hasn't been 20 years. The first iPod that came out, it was wow, it looks cool, it's shiny. Even though after about a week of using it, it wasn't shiny anymore, because the back all scratched up on it, but it looks shiny in the beginning. It's wow, it's colorful. It's not now it's colorful, but before it was black and white, and it had really nice smooth dial. Look at that. Well, they spent a lot of money in industrial design, and they spent a lot of money on consumer look and feel. It's all about the UI UX for Apple. Same product, same thing, UI UX. So that's how they're different. They become core competent in putting out a nice, decent product. I don't know about iOS 7, though. Have you guys seen iOS 7? It came out over the weekend. I'm kind of torn with it. It's not the traditional Apple. There's something wrong with it. Seriously, there's something wrong with it. Huh? It doesn't have the same wow factor. iOS 6 had wow factor. This is duh. This is dull. This is white backgrounds, small text. You know, smaller text than it used to have before. I have it on my iPad mini. It's dull. It's not wow. But that's my own personal opinion of it. But I'm also 50-50 on it. I have to grow with it a little bit. I haven't decided. Other times, though, I've looked at Apple products, even like the little iPods, the little baby ones, the Nanos, and they've gone through a whole series of different ones, and people buy them over and over again because they all look different. And this time around, I'm thinking, I don't know about this iOS 7. And plus, I haven't seen the new colored iPods yet, but what was it? The iPhones? I'm thinking, what does it matter? It's the same iPhone. It's got iOS 7 on it, which I don't know about yet. It's just in different colors. Am I going to upgrade? This is the first time I've actually had to think about, would I upgrade? In the past, it's been a no-brainer. Of course you're going to upgrade. It's wow. It's brand new. It's wow, you know. But it's not wow anymore, which is kind of weird. So I don't know. Maybe it was a change of management, change of company. It was bound to happen, though. You can only be the market leader for so long. Then someone's going to undercut you. Someone's going to come in. I think the ride is coming to a stop soon for them, but I don't know. People have been saying that for the last 5 years. It hasn't happened yet, so I don't know. But long story short, that's about differentiation. In fact, if you think about it, the 2008 MacBook that came out from Apple that sold for probably more like 1,500 or so, had the same board and the same processor as the Sony Vios that sold for $500 or $600. Why are you going to spend more for that MacBook? This is the 2008. These are the older ones. Back when they were first putting in the Intel chips, they were first getting the sleek design. The Vios in one of the MacBook releases were the same processor board, practically the same configuration, the same specs, different operating systems, obviously. One was almost twice as much as the other one in price, and people bought it. They bought it up, which was actually kind of interesting as product differentiation. It's the same product, but the company's got that differentiation to it. It's Apple, whatever. We also have innovation. In fact, innovative products, I haven't seen too many innovative products, but if you think about the concept of that tablet that we have now, that was an innovation. Somebody came out with that tablet concept. Somebody came out with the mobile phone. Somebody came out with Wi-Fi access. It's all technology driven in this particular market, but it's brand new. Now we have voice over IP. That's an innovation. In fact, we have Vonage with landline voice over IP phones. I'm waiting for the voice over IP complete cell phone. You can get it now with Google Voice, but you have to have a cell phone that has cellular service on it and a data plan to get it. What if we had a phone that didn't have cellular service, which you can actually do now with tablets, and I've done that with the tablet, turned it into a phone by putting Google Voice on it. Works over my Wi-Fi network. Only problem is I have to have a Wi-Fi signal to receive my voicemail. I just receive a live call. Otherwise it goes to voicemail. So I'm waiting for the future when we'll have voice over IP cell phones that'll have better, stronger, maybe internet access won't come and go. Maybe we'll just have Wi-Fi all the time. Perhaps maybe citywide Wi-Fi. If we had citywide Wi-Fi, which we had actually in Cupertino, I think, for like maybe a month, 3 or 4 weeks, until the government shut it down, or the city shut it down, because it was too expensive to operate. But they've been saying for years they want to give, it's like a utility. If you think about it, shouldn't Wi-Fi access be a utility? Like water, gas, electric, Wi-Fi? You know, why do we have to pay extra for Wi-Fi? I mean, why do we have to buy from private companies? Shouldn't it be like metropolitan-wide Wi-Fi? We're in San Jose. We're connected to the San Jose Wi-Fi. Anywhere we go, we're all connected constantly. Then we can have the voice over IP phones, and it would actually work because we'd constantly have a Wi-Fi connection. My problem with tablets right now, which is why I'm actually on an iPad with Verizon wireless service, actually cellular service. I always carry cellular service on it because I use it for my phone, and I need access all the time. So otherwise, if I'm relying upon Wi-Fi, I don't always get a signal. and or my signal changes. I lose, it comes back, I lose, it comes back. Not guaranteed. Cellular is there all the time, regardless of where you are. So, long story short, if you want to do that, you got to pay for cellular, and then you end up getting a free Google Voice account in the U.S. Doesn't work outside of the U.S., but outside of the U.S. can call into the U.S. It's kind of like Skype, actually. But it's actually better because then you can hook it up to your phone, have the option of answering your call on Google Voice or answering it on your local cellular plan. So now that a lot of people are doing this, the price of cellular has gone down and the price of data has gone up because, it's just counterintuitive. You get off the cellular, save your minutes, now you're using voice over IP on your Wi-Fi. They're going to raise your rates now on the data plan. They're going to lower your cellular because nobody's using it, which is kind of, anyway, that's innovation. Growing your company. The bigger you are, which, I personally think that's why Microsoft is so successful. They were one of the first PC companies. They're still around, and they're huge. And they have the market share on Office. Nobody buys anything else. It's Microsoft Office. Their operating systems I could do without. Their tools I couldn't. So, although I'm using Preview on a PPT file on my MacBook because I refuse to install Microsoft Office, but because I'm not a Microsoft Office fan. But long story short, I don't have to support them. So, but growth, big, huge. Huge market share with growth, and it doesn't really matter what they produce. They can produce a Windows RT tablet, and it can fail completely, but they're big enough. They've grown, and their growth is big enough, so it doesn't really matter. They're not going to go anywhere. Alliance, which is actually kind of interesting. Long time ago, Microsoft bought out or bailed out Apple, and then now, believe it or not, in the next actually it's been rumored, I don't know if it's really going to happen at this point, but it was rumored that Apple was going to go bail out Microsoft because of the whole Windows 8 failure. So it's an alliance. So as long as, I can say I hate Microsoft, but you know what? The company that I do like is an alliance with Microsoft. The two of them are working together. Why is that? Because we don't want a monopoly. The government's going to split them up. So if they work together, they can compete against each other friendly. They can cooperate with each other. They can bail each other out so that they're both still in business constantly. And we have an alliance, and then we have a world where people have, I like Apple, I like Microsoft. Doesn't really care. Those guys don't care who likes who. They're both working together. So they're in an alliance. So Microsoft bailed out Apple. Gave them, millions of dollars a long time ago to stay in business. Apple's ready to bail out Microsoft if they need it. We need two companies. Otherwise, the government's going to split it up. It's a monopoly. We can't have a monopoly. So, long story short, that's kind of interesting. And then Microsoft was trying to own Java for the longest time. And we all know about the Java, perhaps, lawsuit that they lost with. So, they can't market Java. That belongs to Oracle now. But long story short, they were trying to create their alliance by their ownership or by claiming ownership. Other strategies definitely fall into there as well. And as we go through the centuries, these are traditional strategies. Now I get other stuff that happens. As an example, social media marketing. You know how many fake people are out there on Facebook selling product for companies? You got all the people. It's better than a television. It's better than a TV ad or a billboard. Where are the people? They're on Facebook. So go out to Facebook, sell them product. Who are you? Well, I'm Jane. Jane Smith. Would you like to be my friend? Oh, here, I've got this party going on. Yeah, it's at Apple. Or, there's actually books on this now, too. It's called Social Media Marketing. There's also blog marketing. In fact, we did blogging here. There was a course that we taught at ITU in blogging. That's some of the other strategies. Using the internet as a marketplace to promote. So LinkedIn is not really used for that, which is kind of like why I like LinkedIn. It's real people on LinkedIn. Well, for the most part. I constantly, about maybe one or two of them a week, I'll get these little people coming to me saying, hey, do you have any students who are interested in this? Yeah, no, I'm not selling anything to my students. And no, I'm not promoting your cause. And no, anyway, so we also have that, a little bit of that through meetup groups, actually. And I do have a meetup group. I have a Android workshop, or excuse me, mobile app development workshop meetup group. And I constantly get invites to go to other things, and they're sales pitches. It's here, use this product. Here's a free tutorial on this product. Use the, you're going to use this product, right? You're going to promote this product? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I like this product, But it's marketing. It's competitive advantages. It's, looking for your audience, looking for your target market, trying to cater to your target market. So competitive forces, by definition, it shapes the structure of the competition in its industry. All industries have different competition. They all have different strategies for dealing with it. Here's Porter's competitive forces model. We will have an assignment that deals with this model. The model is described in Lecture 2 of the Information Technology series. It's also in a couple more lectures as well, but this is the first mention of it. He says, in order to survive and succeed, a business must develop and implement strategies to effectively counter, and here's his 5 competitive forces. Rivalry, which is it was actually in the last slide I was focused on for a while there, with competitors within its industry, the threat of new entrants, keeping new people out of the industry, lowering the barrier to entry, raising the barrier to entry, so that other people can't get into the market, which is actually kind of interesting. Getting rid of that threat, and also the threat of posing of substitute products that might capture market share. Substitute products are kind of funny. For the longest time, if you looked at the U.S. for the longest time of history, substitute products has been a major strategy for, and I call them bottom feeders. You want to sell a product, you don't have any skills, you don't have any ideas of your own, so you steal somebody else's. You're creating a $64 tablet is what you're doing. Saying, hey, there's a lot of tablets out there. Let me go send this over to China. Have them build it for me. Come back at half the price. Here we go, cheap parts. Just put it together. Here, copy this product. Here, better yet, here's a product. Can you make one just like that? Bring it back into the U.S. Okay, it's kind of like that. It's close enough. It's good. Substitute products. It actually has worked because the real product's too expensive, so you make a substitute. I guarantee it right now, you could go anywhere, you go to the tourist areas, even in the U.S., and you can buy fake Rolexes. Who in the world buys a fake Rolex? They're crappy, but people still buy them. It's a Rolex, but because they can't afford it. Rolex is a brand of watch, by the way, if you haven't heard of this. I'm sure, you go to any border, you go anywhere, you get the little vendors, here, open up the trench coat. I got 5 Rolexes, would you like one? Oh yeah, no, oh yeah, they're real, oh, $5. It's like, no, they're not real. And then actually customs will take it away, by the way. They don't like that. They'll confiscate all of your fake stuff. But that's a substitute product, by the way. So that's the illegal way of doing it. There's legal ways of doing a substitute product. You wait for a patent to expire. So remember Q-tips? There is only one brand called Q-tips. They had a patent. The patent expired. Now we have cotton swabs. They're fake Q-tips. But they can't illegally call themselves Q-tips, but they are Q-tips. But they're not Q-tips. They're cotton swabs. That's a legal way of doing it, waiting for a patent, waiting for the rights to expire. They didn't come out until maybe about 20 years ago or so. Q-tips was good for about 10, 15 years, and then we got free market. Same thing happened with tablets. So as soon as the tablet, well, the patent technology is still kind of iffy on that one. We're going to get it. Remember that Kinect stuff from the Microsoft ownership of all of the, well, actually Xbox and the hand gesture and motion, the Wii thing, with all, that's actually soon to, those things will expire probably in about 8 years, and then we're going to see a bunch of products on the market that are going to be doing just the same thing, because now it's free. They're not going to step on anybody's toes. They had, the original owner of that technology and that product had it patented. Patent does expire. It's not a lifetime thing. Expires, there's companies that go around looking for expirations, looking for something that has expired, and then they'll make another Q-tip. They'll make another cotton swab, or they'll make another aspirin, or they'll make a generic drug. So pharmaceutical drugs, they do this all the time. They make generic. It's the same thing, but it's not the same brand. So some new drugs can't be generic because the patents haven't expired yet. You have to wait for the patent to expire. But a lot of the traditional drugs, ibuprofen, acetaminophen, aspirin, Advil. Actually, aspirin is different than Tylenol, which is the other one, ibuprofen, or I don't know, acetaminophen. But anyway, long story short, there's like 3 or 4 different pain relieving drugs out there that are marketed under Wall something for Walgreens, and I don't know what the other ones are, but I just shop at Walgreens. But long story short, that's the area, the substitute products. Porter says, that's one of your forces. As soon as the substitute comes out, your product not going to be so popular anymore. Are you going to pay $1 extra for your Q-tips, or are you going to buy the cheaper cotton swabs? Most people, unless they're brand loyal, they'll buy the cheaper cotton swabs. Some people are brand loyal. Bargaining power of customers. The more products that you have, the more bargaining power you have. Okay, so we're going to take a little bit of an attendance break here. Let me pause this. All right, let's finish up so we can go to lunch. What do we got going on here? So I stopped at bargaining power for customers. The more options a customer has, the more bargaining power they have. So they're going to be more competitive with the pricing. Also, a bargaining power of suppliers. The more companies that that make a part that's used in a product, the better pricing that the manufacturer can probably get from the supplier. And then we have the competitive strategies. So these are the forces. These are the forces, and the forces are actually on the bottom here. These are the competitive forces. And these are the strategies. I actually went over all of the strategies already, but just to conclude some thoughts on those strategies. They are the cost leadership, the differentiation strategy, the innovation strategy, the growth strategy, and alliance strategy. And those are the ones I just covered. And just so you have something in writing that you can refer back to, the following slides, and I'll just briefly go through it just to summarize it. The cost leadership, all these strategies are in like maybe 2 bullet points or 3 bullet points. I gave you a lot more information on that, but just so that you know the differences of it, becoming the low-cost producer of the product or the service. And this actually applies towards not just products, but services, providing a service at a cheaper price. If you think about package handling as an example, that's a competitive cost leadership strategy that actually United States Postal Service had to actually adopt to with their priority, and they recently actually lowered their prices a little bit, I believe, as well on the priority and the, what did they have? Priority mail, express mail, regular mail. Although it's kind of expensive, it's like 50 cents to mail a letter. It's actually cheaper in some cases to do it by other means, actually, but it's a lot cheaper to do it electronically. But long story short, that's the problem with the U.S. Postal Service when it comes to shipping. There's people saying that they don't know how long the U.S. Postal Service is going to stay around. What do we need it for? It's more expensive to use them in some cases than it is just to send it UPS or Federal Express or some other carrier. So finding ways to help suppliers and customers reduce their costs. We're getting this with utilities right now. At this local area, some of you might have like a Santa Clara Muni, or you might have Pacific PG&E. You might actually notice, I just got a call the other day from another company who's selling undercutting PG&E. I'm a little afraid to switch my electricity and my gas and everything over to somebody like that, because what if they don't last? Then I'm going to be without power or something. And plus, I've had PG&E for years. Why would I want to switch, right? So anyway, finding different ways, different suppliers. And what am I going to save, $10 or something? But if you haven't noticed, PG&E has reduced their costs because they had a lot of people that were switching. Now your bills are, you'll probably notice that if you've been here a while, you'll notice that it's going down a little bit, which is nice. And what they're doing is they're compensating for people who are conserving energy. So the more you conserve, the more you save, which is actually kind of interesting. It's a good strategy. It's twofold. It makes you more green, and then it also makes you save money. But my utility has gone down. Increased costs of competitions and competitors. If the price difference is not so significant, then the cost of your competitor to keep up, to lower the price, to make it more competitive, not so beneficial, not so good. Your competition is going to go out of business, which is why I haven't switched over, because I'm fearing that, you know, that other utility company, I don't even remember what it's called, who's trying to solicit my account is it's probably going to go under, and then I have to go crawling back to PG&E saying, hey, can you give me power? When I don't want to mess with my power like that. So differentiation strategy, although people do it all the time with their cell phone service, another example of that as well. A differentiation strategy, developing the ways to differentiate your firm's products and services from your competitors, and then also reducing the differentiation advantages of your competitors. Making your competitor, in fact, this was the interesting thing with the iPhone versus the Android in the beginning. The differentiation was that Android was 2 processors and multitasking, and you can do all of this stuff at the same time simultaneously, and they promoted that all over the place. Well, funny thing is now iOS does the same thing, so you don't see those ads anymore because there's no differentiation anymore. They're both the same. They both run at the same speed. They both run multitasking. Not a problem anymore. But as a competitive advantage, as a strategy, you want to reduce that. Don't give your competitor something that they can use to compete with you on. So right now, Apple, you know, I'm sure you've seen those, you know, the little iPad comes up and then the RT comes up and it says, oh, I don't have that USB port. Oh, I don't have that. Oh, I really don't have that. Yeah, Microsoft doesn't have that either because they're selling them at a loss just to recover their loss. So they reduce the prices significantly on that tablet to like $3.99. That doesn't compare to $5.99. So they're using that as a price, you know, market strategy to reduce the differentiation, or they need to reduce, well, Apple doesn't need to do anything. People will buy RTs or they're not going to buy RTs. It has no effect on how price competitive they are with the iPad. Although the commercial is kind of funny and humorous. And yeah, it's right. The iPad is almost twice as much, but come on, they're selling it at a loss. So in Apple's defense, no need to reduce that differentiation. The consumer market already knows why there's a differentiation there to begin with. So, but Microsoft is using that differentiation to their advantage. And that's what's meant by a company would want to reduce that differentiation. Don't give Microsoft the ability to sell it that way. But that's an impossible battle to beat. Apple's not going to lower the price just because Microsoft is trying to recover some of their loss. Not going to happen that way. Anyway, innovative strategies as well. That's another way a company can use, and I talked about that as well. Developing unique products and services, being innovative, coming out with a brand new product, entry into the unique markets or market niches, making radical changes to your business processes, and then producing or distributing products and services that are very different than before. That would be the case that I gave you with the voice over IP. If someone can actually come out with a voice over IP cell phone that used just data, no cellular at all, and had a cheap price on it, like a Metro PCS price or something like that, or kind of, you know, and I'm not endorsing products, by the way, when I mention things. I shouldn't mention company names or anything like that, but that would be an innovative strategy to produce a product to gain a competitive advantage, one part of Porter's model. So making radical changes. Also, selling new products and services. Actually, the recent radical change in the cell phone market, most people know this one already, get rid of the upgrade cost. So I think T-Mobile did that, you know. We want a new phone. Do you have to wait for 2 years before your contract ends, or you have to pay $200, $150 early termination fee? I get rid of it. Now it's more innovative because now we don't have a early termination fee or something like that. Well, you build it into the cost of the phone. You build up the package now, so you're paying for that ahead of time, or part of that ahead of time, with the hope that the market's going to slow down, and the market is slowing down a little bit. So what are they going to do? Come out with another Android? Are you going to upgrade? The market's pretty flooded right now with mobile devices. Your chances of upgrading right now are going down. So use that as an innovative strategy to say, we can upgrade your phone anytime you want. No problem, you're not going to have anything to upgrade to. So we don't care. So you're going to pay a little bit more for that ability to be able to upgrade. And when there's not going to be any upgrade available for you, you're not probably going to keep your phone longer than you've ever kept it. Because the entry into market is slowed down. So, and it's pretty innovative, pretty market position. It's actually kind of funny, but companies do what they need to do to make money. That's one of them. So that's a money-making strategy. Growth strategy also is another thing. Significant expanding the company's capacity to produce goods and services. Build a better warehouse. Outsource your manufacturing. Expand into global markets. Diversify the new products and services. Integrate into related products and services. That's a growth strategy. And then we have that alliance strategy. That's the Microsoft and the Apple working together. So in conclusion on that one, establishing new business linkages and alliances with customers, suppliers, competitors, consultants, and other companies. Why do you have to be against your competitors when you can be joining teams with your competitors? Actually, that's what eBay and PayPal did for the longest time. And then eBay decided, well, let's buy PayPal. So eBay owns PayPal, but you know, PayPal still has its own name. Because PayPal works with eBay, but, you know, let them go elsewhere. Let them work with other companies, too. PayPal's all over the place now. Nice. But it's owned by eBay. But, you know, it's an alliance ownership. So, actually, it wasn't until the last 5 or 6 years or so that they actually did own them. Originally, there were 2 separate companies. They worked for several years together as 2 separate companies in an alliance until one bought the other one. So. Well, it's to eBay's advantage to own them because everybody uses PayPal through eBay. Why should they be losing out on that profit? So eBay makes money on the PayPal usage. So, well, because they're the same company. So they're making that money now. And before they weren't making it. PayPal was profiting from the eBay alliance. And eBay didn't like that, so eBay bought PayPal. So just pay. Actually, what they did is all the profits you're going to make, let me just pay you now, and then I can make the profits, which is kind of what happens in the, you know, alliances. I don't ever think Apple's going to merge with Microsoft, but if an alliance stays around long enough, what ends up happening is eventually they start teaming up to the point where they're the same company. So happens a lot, actually. So competitive strategies examples. If you're still looking for more examples, this chart here is going to have your strategies I just went over, along with different companies, along with their strategies in terms of what they've done and in what business effect it has had in the long run. We'll have an assignment, and I'll go over the assignment next week, actually, because I have more stuff on the Porter's model to give you. That'll have you apply the Porter's model to a business scenario and say, well, what competitive strategies could be used, and what could they do? Because the real learning objective here is to kind of figure out how can you take the model, look at different strategies from a company business perspective, apply it to make significant changes that are going to have some long-term effect. So usually the long-term effect is going to be on the profitability or the marketability or something that has a positive outcome for the company. However, some nonprofits also have outcomes that are not associated with revenue, you know, obviously. So other competitive strategies that I've not talked about yet is the lock-in strategy, as an example. Customers and our suppliers building valuable new relationships with them and locking them in. That's the 2-year contract. You know, that's the early cancellation fees. That's it. We'll give you a month free, and then you forget to. Actually, Netflix does that. Here's your free 2 months. Actually, 2 months is worse than 1 month. You only want 1 month because then at least you'll remember. After 2 months, are you going to remember to cancel that, or are you going to be billed? You're going to be billed. And then like 4 or 5 months down the road, you go, what is this charge? Oh, it's that Netflix account. Oh, I forgot to cancel it. Well, they're hoping that's what you're going to do. But actually, it's not bad. I mean, I actually kept it. I got a free account. I use Netflix all the time now. I got a free account. Actually, I got the 2 free because I bought one of those Sony things, and you get 2 months free. And then I kept it after that, purposely. Although I wrote down the expiration date and I stuck it on my desk at home so I would remember when to cancel it. And then after all of that, I decided to keep it. I'm like, oh, this is worth it. But you know, if you want to get the DVDs in the mail, you don't get the internet one, you have to pay another $9.99 or whatever that is to get other. That's actually a good strategy. And Amazon does the same thing, Amazon Prime. They sell you the entire year, which I'm surprised Netflix isn't doing. They lock you in because you bought an entire year of it. So if you're into these smart television or the Roku or the Sonys, you know, there's a ton of these gadgets out on the market right now. They're all pretty much doing the same thing at this point. They'll have Netflix, they have Amazon, you know. If you're at the Roku, you just arrow over and you click it, and it tells you to go to your computer and sign up for an account. Amazon gets you the first time. You get the Amazon Prime, it's like $89 or $90, and you buy the whole year. Once I've locked in on that one, do you think I'm going to go over? I did both, actually. I did the Netflix, too, because I got a free one. So I use the Netflix more than I use the Amazon, but I've already bought an entire year of Amazon. What am I going to do with it? I can't cancel it. If I cancel it, I don't get anything for it. I don't get anything back. But that's a lock-in strategy. So those little things are kind of, yeah, the Roku advertises, you know, free this, free that. There are some free stuff on there. I'm not complaining about that. There's a ton of free stuff on there. Old movies are extremely fun and free. But long story short, that lock-in strategy is a company. Somebody thought about that. How am I going to get people to, you know, to do that? And I only locked myself into Amazon Prime Time, I think it was called. I can't remember what it's called now. Is because there was a show that I like, and it wasn't on the Netflix, but it was on the Amazon. So I'm paying $100 a year for one show that I like. But you know what? I'm willing to do it. So I support the cause. Also, the switching costs. Well, that's the early termination fee. That's the I want a new phone. Which is actually kind of funny because they turned the switching cost around and they made another product out of that. The no have to wait plan. You pay a little bit more and you don't have to have any switching costs. With the assumption that the switching costs are going to go down because there's the entry to new phone market has gone down. So anyway. So paying the cost and time and energy and effort to switch over, not so good. Switching costs for power service utilities, that's my problem with PG&E. I'm going to stay with PG&E as long as I possibly can because the switching cost is too high for me. What is it? It has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with time or effort or anything. It has something to do with I don't want to have my internet down. Actually, my internet is not with them. It's with another company. But I don't want to lose my power. The switching cost for me to be, I mean, I have my refrigerator unplugged and all my food goes bad and not have any lights or any hot water or anything. You know, I don't want that to happen to me. And that's my electricity, my gas service, my heater in the winter. I don't want to, like, mess with that. So that's my switching cost. It's ease of mind knowing that I'm not going to lose my power in between one switch to the other. Because you know when you move, you lose your cell phone. Sometimes you lose your power. You got to turn the power back on. It takes them 3 days to get the power turned on. You know, all that switching, that's switching cost. Maybe not in monetary, but inconvenience. Other competitive strategies also raising the barrier to entry, as I mentioned before. What would discourage or delay other companies from entering the market? Maybe a patent would. You know, usually a patent does. Or maybe it's you've got a secret ingredient. Long time ago, a company called Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC, with their secret recipe. Still hasn't been disclosed. Although the Mrs. Fields secret recipe is for sale, you can buy it. But anyway, I paid like $1 for it. And I can't remember. A friend of mine did that. I can't remember what's. There's nothing on it. It's like vanilla and some other stuff in this, and there's some secret ingredients. But the secret, the batter for the Kentucky Fried Chicken. So if you don't have the secret recipe, you can't make Kentucky Fried Chicken. So Kentucky Fried Chicken will exist forever. Still exists, but I don't think anyone eats that anymore. I don't know. I could be wrong. You guys all heard of KFC though? They've been around forever. There's KFCs in California. There's a couple of other chicken companies that are not in California, though. Chuckle something or other. I don't know. When you go travel, when I go traveling, I like to go to the chicken places because they're not in California. Well, we have El Pollo Loco, so they have a secret recipe. So I think theirs is fat, but anyway. Long story short, I'm not trying to promote or discourage you to go to any restaurant. My disclaimer there for legal purposes. I'm just saying that's the barrier to entry for those companies. They have a secret recipe. Another barrier to entry might be, as an example, the Apple barrier to entry is they can't, unless you're really good at industrial design and you put it into the smallest little detail, you can't compete with that. In fact, if you just look at the computers, you know, and you look at their designs of their tablets and things, smooth, quality, retina screens, how can you compete with that? Cost of that retina screen is going to be too expensive, or the technology is going to be patented, or something's going to be wrong with it. Keeps people out of the market. Also, leveraging the investment. So the technology for developing new products and services would not be possible without a strong IT capability and the investment. Biggest leverage in their investment originally, which is probably the reason why iPods came out and were so popular in the beginning, was iTunes. You're leveraging your investment. Everything is on iTunes. How are you going to get to it? How are you going to put it on me? You can't take another. So another company comes out. This is going to go back 10 years, 15 years and go, I got an iPod. It's on the market. It's $150 for this thing. Ooh, but look, there's another one I can buy for $49 at Fry's or something. Here's another one. I can't hook up to my iTunes. Ah. So if you don't get them on the media player, you're going to get them on iTunes. And then you're going to lock all their stuff in. And for a while, your stuff was locked in. And then later, okay, you can burn it to a CD. Okay, and then they had the DRM thing for a while. Okay, we'll take the DRM off of there. You can use it on multiple computers, multiple devices. So they've slowly kind of loosened up a little bit over the years. But in the beginning, they were completely locked down for a very good reason. You need to leverage that investment so you can get them to buy more iPods. Get them buying the iPods, keep them in the market, keep everything on iTunes, keep everything all together. Everything is still on iTunes. So a lot of people won't buy, going back to those Rokus and stuff, they won't buy the Apple TV because it's linked with iTunes and they're anti-iTunes. People don't like the control. People don't like Microsoft. They don't like, I shouldn't say Apple owning everything. They don't want Microsoft to own anything either, which is actually kind of funny because Microsoft did a late entry into the market with the Microsoft Store, which I think is kind of like cheesy when I think about it. You know, it's like, yeah, why are you doing that? Why do we have a Microsoft Store? You know, anyway, long story short, now you can buy Apple programs for the desktop in the Apple Store in iTunes. It's not iTunes, it's the Apple Store. But you can buy applications that run on your computer now in the Apple Store. So they kind of did, that was the route. So, I don't know, there's talk in the future everything's going to be cloud-based and everything's going to be a service. So your device, your computer, your tablet will just connect to whatever. It'll connect to the Apple or connect to the Microsoft cloud. And you'll get Office and you'll get all of your services and everything that you do. And you'll pay a monthly fee to have your service. Kind of like your cellular service. So you don't pay your bill, you don't get your files. Or you don't get your data. Or you don't get your applications. I can't imagine that happening, actually. I cannot imagine that happening in the US, although everyone keeps saying that's the route of the future. Software as a service. That's what's going to happen. Microsoft 360 is doing that. So you pay a monthly fee, or you buy an entire year. Your year runs out, so does your Microsoft Office. I'm hoping at the end of that year, I don't have it, but I'm hoping at the end of that year that they're going to like upgrade you maybe, or give you another year at half price or something, or I don't know. Pay $99, I think you get a year of Microsoft Office. And it's not all installed on your computer. It connects to the internet to authenticate. So it's going to know when your year's up. I don't think a lot of people realize that. So we'll see what happens in a year from now. So it started with the Windows 8. Then we had Microsoft 360. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of cheaper. It is much cheaper. But you're paying for it per year now. And it's not, you don't own it anymore. And you can't install it on other computers. You can only install it on the computer you paid for it on. So you have another computer, you pay another $99. And another computer and your friend, $99. So, Not like the old days when people used to burn the discs, give them to the world. You want to go talking about the fake Rolexes. You buy the disc, and the disc has got like 25, 30 different software packages on it. They're just all pirated. So the days of pirated software are going to go away very soon, if they haven't gone away yet. So you can still buy pirated software with keys, but it's getting harder and harder. If everything goes cloud-based, you won't have that anymore. Another, you have the advantage versus the necessity concept. So the competitive advantage is turning into a necessity, as I was mentioning before. So there's a kind of a fine line between these two factors at this point. Competitive advantage is developing the products, services, the capabilities, giving the company a superior business position. The necessity is staying in business, simply to complete and do business in the industry. So because of the competitive nature of businesses and the way things are running these days, they're both the same right now. If you don't compete, if you don't have a competitive advantage, you can forget the competitive necessity. It is a competitive necessity to have a competitive advantage. Otherwise, you're just spending a lot of money for nothing. Because when all is said and done, you could have taken the money, bought yourself, a nice little vacation home or a car or a boat or something. Close the business down, fire all your people, just close the business down, take the money, buy something else, and get more satisfaction out of it in the end. And then get more return on your investment at the end. Than staying in business without a competitive advantage. So these two are pretty much the same. They actually originally were two different things. There was a necessity of it, then there was an advantage of it. Now it's totally necessity. So, products and services needed. You could argue and say that the competitive necessity would, if you could think about smog checks actually, in California about 10 years ago, you got your car smog checked for your registration, and you actually had a printout. You sent the printout, the certificate, to the DMV. Now it's all done electronically. Probably you don't have cars. I don't know. If some of you have a car, if you get a smog checked, if you buy a new car, you just got here, you buy a new car, you buy an old car, you buy any car, you borrow your friend's car or whatever, they have it registered, hopefully. And if it's registered, it requires a smog check every couple of years or so. Now it's a competitive necessity for a service company or smog check company to have the big old expensive computer system that sends it to the DMV. If you don't have that, you're not in business anymore. That's kind of an example of a necessity. In terms of a competitive advantage, you may not necessarily have to spend money for that. You might just be the only smog check company in the city of San Jose. Because all the other ones closed down because they can't afford the equipment to send electronically to DMV. Long story short, you got an advantage without having spending money at all above and beyond your necessity. So there are two still, not to give you that they're the same thing, there is still one versus the other. There's still different concepts with that. Customer-focused businesses and business. A customer-focused business, and these are in the other strategy categories now, they can anticipate customers' future needs, respond to customers' concerns, and provide top-quality customer service. Well, that's a lot of smoke and mirrors and whatever they call it. But yeah, if you can think like the customer and you can actually cater to the customer, then you can be considered a customer-focused business. For the most part, you should be customer-focused. Going back to the entire thing about necessity and advantage, how are you going to compete in the world if you're not customer-focused? If you're not thinking about your customer, and the old saying, customer service, the customer is always right. Customer, don't argue with the customer, which is actually kind of funny because people still argue with customers. I mean, customer's never wrong about anything. But you go into a restaurant, you get a waiter with a bad attitude, and they're going to blame it on you. Oh, you didn't ask for it. I'm like, well, but I want it. But you didn't ask for it. But I want it. But you didn't ask for it. And then they come back and, okay, but I can charge you. But there's a charge for that. I'm going to charge you $2 more. I don't care. Just charge me. Just give it to me. That's what I want. So I'll never go back to that restaurant. Hopefully. I mean, unless I change my mind and think, oh, if the food was really good, I probably would go back. But that's me as a customer. But long story short, information system is a customer-focused business. And that's actually kind of, something a company does need to think about. especially with, think about innovation and technology applied towards the customer. The biggest fault of a lot of the customer relationship management software, CRM, is that it ruins the relationship with the customer instead of helping it. So this is one area of technology and one area of innovation that companies have actually used that has not worked in their favor, because it can destroy the relationship. You know, the telephone solicitor that calls you in the middle of dinner, what company are you from? They're never going to tell you because you're going to hate that company at one point. So, and then, you know, they like the don't call list. It's like, don't irritate your customers. Actually, a lot of companies are using cell phones now for that. But I think we had enough for today, unless you guys want more. This is a good stopping point. So someone's got to remind me that I stopped here. And I'm on customer-focused businesses, because what I'm going to get into now is CRM, supply chain management, ERP, and systems that are used for competitive advantages and innovation, information systems and information technology, and for companies to basically be able to survive in the today's economy. Which leads us into a lot more subject matters. So this is a good stopping point because I finished Porter's model. So anyway, you'll have an assignment next week. I'll go over the assignment that's on. If you're thinking about doing assignments and stuff, do number 1, get number 1 submitted, and then next week we'll start in with number 2 or number 3. We'll work ahead with that. All right, see you next week.